Humans on the cardboard! Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today, we are finally here with MARINCESS and the support that they have gotten, that they have longed for years and years. And ever since they got revealed, I have been yearning for them for months and months. This is such a cool deck. It is a legitimately like a competitive deck that can compete in the metagame. I would say it's probably tier 2. It's hard to really judge though, because it's, you know, these kinds of decks are like, is it really just getting a couple of tops here and there on the regional level, and even some national levels in some countries, because it's just new and it's pretty good? Or is it actually good enough? And like maybe once, like, I don't know, I just wonder, like, maybe when the hype dies down, if less people play it, will it still get as many tops? I don't know, but I think it's clearly shown that it's good enough that if you like it and you want to really jam it, you can get some good results with it. So here we go. I think this deck is like right there with Salamangrates, and it's insane. So yeah, let's get into this thing. Starting off with our MARINCESS monster lineup. Starting off here, triple MARINCESS Blue Tang. This is the best starter in the deck. This card is insane, and this is a 1-card combo that can beat a hand trap. I know that sounds insane, but like, it just is. I never thought we'd really see 1-card combos that could beat hand traps, but here we are. This card's insane. Like, it beats like a basic hand trap, like by itself. Not super consistently, but I would say like maybe just over 50% of the time, which is insane. So like, your opponent has to be very smart about how they hand trap you, because like, this card can punish them, and even just having any simple extender in hand can punish them. Next up, 3 copies of MARINCESS Spring Girl. In my opinion, this is now the second best MARINCESS monster behind Blue Tang, for a couple reasons. It's an extender that doesn't need a body on field, just engrave, which a lot of Cyber decks really struggle with getting their normal summon popped. Salamangrates deal with that. Code Talkers deal with that as well. Those are the 2 main Cyber decks that I've dealt with. And like, even at Ignister, if they can't get to the field spell, they are in trouble if you pop their normal summon. So this card helps you play through that, and it's level 4, which is so huge. I mean, I said like 2 or 3, I said like 3 different things when I made videos saying like what kind of support we needed from MARINCESS before they even announced what the support was. And I said like a good level 4 extender, bam. A way to search the traps, bam, and a really good new spell. The only thing we didn't get is like maybe another good trap, but we'll see. That's just like the last piece Konami needs to put out. But Spring Girl's insane. Just banishes a MARINCESS from grave to summon herself, and when she's linked off, she can mill cards up to the number of MARINCESS monsters you control. So potentially just mill different named MARINCESS cards. You can add them back, which is really good. There. Next up, 3 copies of Seahorse. Now, Seahorse is actually one where I would actually consider dropping this down to 2, but I do think just for the sake of having names, and the fact that all 3 of these that I've shown you so far are 1-card combos. Blue Tang is definitely the most powerful of the 1-card combos here, but these 2 as well are good, and they get you a lot of resources, and they can get you to the link 4, they can get you a trap, but it's just a little bit better to have Blue Tang. It just gives you a higher ceiling. And you'd rather save these as extenders. But the coolest thing about the deck is, while we have a bunch of names, this isn't like Magical Musketeers or Trap Tricks, where all of these extra names are kind of just bricks in the hand. Vesiculo for like Trap Tricks is a fine extender, but it doesn't really raise the ceiling of your board by seeing it with another Trap Tricks monster, unless you have another extender. Whereas these, like, 1 is already a 1-card combo, but if you see 2, it either beats a hand trap or 2, or just straight up makes your end board stronger. So like, it's so good to see multiples of these always, and I think that smoothness just makes for like a really consistent Yu-Gi-Oh deck. All right, 2 copies of Pescalis. This is where I land on this. I would consider playing it at 1. I think it's fine. It's not insane. I think it's pretty good. Like, I can't complain. It helps me put more level 4 water bodies on the field to facilitate the Exceed plays, while also being an add back, which is way better now, because in the past, you were pretty much just trying to get wave in rotation, and that's all this would really have utility, adding back. But now that we also have dive, it means we can use our add backs on other cards, because we have like a guaranteed add back of dive on a later turn. The only way this card like shouldn't be a 3 of potentially is because it can't summon another copy of itself. So seeing 2 of them doesn't really make for a better combo, which definitely hurts. But yeah, really solid. all together. I like 2, but I definitely wouldn't play 3, and I would consider 1, but you know, I still want to see names. It's still a 1-card play. It's not the most, it's the weakest of the 1-card plays, but it's there. And the last MARINCESS monster is Sleepy Maiden, just a 1-of. So like basically just by playing this as a 1-of, it allows you to establish the Aqua Argonaut without having access to Battle Ocean. Not only that, but it's just not a bad card. It's not even like we're playing an additional brick to make that play live. It's an extender. Now, it is the only MARINCESS monster that can't be normal summoned, so it's the only one that's not a 1-card combo by itself. But at the end of the day, it's just another extender. If you see it, as long as you see it with any other MARINCESS name, you're still fine. Like, there's nothing wrong. So, still good. And also the protection effect can come up. It's 2,500 booty. Like, I'm not complaining. Really solid. So, that's it for the MARINCESS monsters. Then we move to the basic part, the hand traps. Triple Ash, don't need to say much about that. Triple Veiler, don't need to say much about that either. I guess just big things to note here is, 1, these are just good in Yu-Gi-Oh! Period, but also these are hand traps that you can draw off Bubble Reef on your opponent's standby phase and just immediately add an interruption to your board state, which is really good. Then I play double Droll, and then I have double Nib here as well. This is cool. I like, these are like higher ceiling hand traps. They're a little bit matchup dependent, so I don't want to go all the way in on them, but I do want names. These are also still hand traps that you can draw on the standby phase off Bubble Reef, and they will be live that turn, which is pretty big. So yeah, these are solid. And the last one I played was double in Perm. So this is the only one that like isn't immediately live off of Bubble Reef, but I still just think like that Veiler-esque hand trap is just so good in the format right now. If you want to play even more into the Bubble Reef thing, obviously you can just play like 2 of the Ghost Mourner instead or whatever. You know, it's like a pseudo copy of this card, but I just like this card more, and I felt like the 2 copies wasn't going to kill me in terms of like the Bubble Reef consistency. So yeah, I felt like that was fine. But 12 hand traps in the main. This is definitely a deck where your engine is like 20-ish cards, so you have 20 free slots to work around with, and 12 of those are, for me, are going to hand traps because like if you can play them, you probably play them. All right, moving on to our spells for our consistency here. Triple Signet Mining. This is just searching any MARINCESS monster except for the Sleepy Maiden, but that's still really good. Some people aren't playing 3 of this. My rationalization is twofold. 1, if your worry is the discard, like, okay, but even if you see 2 of this, the second one just becomes your discard. 2, your deck has so much recursion that like you plus through going neg1 on a Signet Mining, so it doesn't even matter. And Blue Tang is like such an incredible starter that like I just want to have maximum copies of it, maximum opportunity to see it if I can. So that's why I play this. And then if you already have something like Blue Tang, then this card is just searching your best extenders, your Spring Girls, your Seahorses, etc. There. I'm on Triple Dive. This could arguably go to 2, but for me, I'm just playing it at 3 because with Aqua Argonaut, I want to see this, because if I see this, 1, this helps is another card along with Spring Girl that again helps with people thinking that they can just pop our normal summon and have a free win. That does not exist anymore with this deck. You can still do it if our hand is like kind of cheeks, but if we see this Spring Girl, Signet Mining, Reborn, whatever you play, like you literally just play right through it. So so yeah, these are really sweet. I love this card. It's so good. And also the idea as well is if we open this, hard draw this, then we get to search Battle Ocean off of our Sea Angel, which means that now this becomes emergency teleport for the deck instead of just a monster reborn, which is insane. If you didn't have access to Blue Tang, you're just summoning Blue Tang out of the deck. Stuff like that is like insane. Also pulls like Sleepy Maiden out of the deck, which if you otherwise didn't have a way to get it out, like stuff like that. It's just so insane. Then the Battle Ocean. I will tell you, I do not give a hot, steamy shit about making a towers. I literally don't play that stuff. But this card does make your dive way better. It's a free plus. It's a necessary brick, I think, even if you're not going to play the tower stuff. So yeah, still playing it at 1. But I do think there are potentially ways to play the deck where you just cut it and just say screw it. But there's like combos with it. It makes Argonaut better, stuff like that. So still probably worth it at the end of the day. From there, we move to True Desires. This one's arguable just because of mainly wave. But I'm playing like triple dive. I really don't care that much if the one Battle Ocean gets banned. Everything else is mostly at 3. Like a Sleep Maiden gets banned, boo-hoo. Your 1-card combo with blue Tang doesn't result in a Aqua Argonaut with the negates, with the spell and trap negate, but like it is what it is. But this card's just, it's going to threaten your opponent. Like if they have Ash, they're going to be very tempted to fire it on this. And if they don't, it means your hand is going to be too good to, like, it's just going to run straight through Ash anyway. So really good card. And applies pressure, post side, it helps you see side deck cards, stuff like that. Okay, 2 Forbidden Chalice. Again, I told you that quick monster negation on field is like really strong right now, so I like having these. Adds a little bit of extra flexibility to those kinds of cards as well, and being able to play second. Your opponent may not be able to predict these kinds of cards like in the game. Like they think like, oh, like if he had Veiler, he would have Veilered me. If he had Imperm, he would have Impermed me. So like he's not going to be able to respond once he commits a monster to the field, and I'll just clear it and it'll be over. But if you have like a Chalice, then like you kind of protect yourself. So I like that this card can just be used defensively like that to protect your stuff, as well as offensively going first. Just like boom, it's an extra Imperm, extra Veiler, whatever. Pretty good. All right, then I have a suite of one-ofs, which I like. I saw a video actually in the past week. Shout out to, oh my gosh, what is the name of his channel? It's Henry from like Bamai Lounge. What is his it's like Draco Backpack Sack, I think is the name. Sorry if I got that wrong, but he made a video saying like why it could be a really good strategy to play a lot of one-ofs in your deck, or bump up the number of one-ofs, almost just based on the sole fact that like your deck becomes so much harder to play around, because you're not just playing 3 Chalice, 3 Imperm, 3 whatever, and like your opponent just knows you're playing like 3 of certain stuff. They now like, they can see like a tactics game 1, and then like you don't see tactics anymore, but you see these other like flexible cards that can also be good in a matchup, and it just makes your deck way harder to predict, way harder to play around specific cards and get punished by others. So it's cool stuff. But yeah, Reborn's at 1. Insane Extender, again, helps us play through getting our board cleared. Nib is kind of annoying, so like this can potentially help with that. Triple Tactics Talents, I like this. It's cool. It's a cool one-of. I almost want to play 2, but I don't know. There's a couple things I wanted to play, but you know, whatever. It's just a 1 slot. You can side more if you want it. But it's like a really powerful one-of. Cosmic Cyclone, just the 1 Mystic Mine out, pretty much. So it's cool and it's pretty good. Helps you play into Scythe game 1, potentially, if you're lucky, and all that stuff. And then Called, you got to play it. It's Called. Like, it just is what it is. And the last card in the main deck is MARINCESS Wave. You got to play at least 1. I'm on 1 right now. I was on more than this before, but then I saw a video where somebody was kind of just explaining where like, just think about it. Like, when do you ever want to draw this card? And it's a really never. Now that this card's searchable, you just always want to be searching it through your combo. You just don't want to see it. It's kind of like seeing Battle Ocean, where you're like, my deck so for free gets Battle Ocean anyway. So like seeing it just makes it just like a dead card, essentially. You just wish it was something else. So this card is like not great playing into boards, because if you're playing against a good board anyway, they're probably not letting you get to a link 3 to make this live regardless. So 1 is fine. The only reason I would consider playing 2 is just because of like, I guess, desires. If you have to fire desires, you definitely don't want to just lose your wave. But it is what it is. You can win games without having wave. And it's just kind of one of those things. You play that risk with Salamangrates. Like, you can win duels even if you banish one of your like traps, or both your traps. Like, you have ways to win by outgrinding your opponent, and that's kind of the same thing with this deck. We've got like, what is it, like 17 different like interruptive cards potentially that can help us still establish interruptions, you know, as long as we're going super plus. So it's fine. So now we get to the extra deck to finish up here. For Link 1s, Double Sea Angel. I like 2 just in case, like, usually the first one is usually searching dive for me. I just think dive is way better for like helping you grind, just getting it in rotation if it's not already. And then the second one can get you Battle Ocean to help you seal up a duel with like a Argonaut negate later on. But I like 2, especially if your opponent thinks like this is the best card to negate at times, because it certainly can feel that way. Like, if they don't have any spells in hand, negating this just keeps those spells out of rotation and makes your grind game like a little bit less flexible on like playing around interruptions and stuff. There, 2 blue Slug. This card is awesome. It's a free +1 every turn. I would always play 2 of it. It's just so good for the grind to reestablish, and it makes your 1-card combos 1-card combos. So you want to use one turn 1, and then you want to use the second one later on in case you need to reestablish a board. Double Correlate Enemy for these. I don't think you need 3 of this. I think like there could be potentially scenarios where a third one comes up, but like Bubble Reef can get 1 back, and you can also recycle it back anyway. So if you ever need it, you can get it there, so it's not a problem. This card's insane. It's a +2. As you can see, it's literally like, oh, a link 1 that's a +1, a link 1 that's a +1, and a link 2 that's a +2. You literally go so plus just by link climbing. It's insane. A couple random link 2s, 1 Splash Mage and 1 Area. Splash Mage does come up with certain combos for sure, so don't sleep on him. But that's mostly it. Like, you don't really use it. He's just like specific combos, playing through interruptions potentially. And then there's Area. So Area is a couple of specific reasons. It's stuff like, oh, we have the tactics. If we steal something, and I'm not going to kill my opponent. I want to make sure they don't get the monster back. And if it's not a water, you might need something generic like this. It could also be something like if Contact C is ever in a format, like being able to use it for this is pretty huge. Getting nibbed and being able to use the nib token just to clear it can be big. So it's just random stuff like that. Just feels like this card could come up. And also like Hulk is still in the format. Like just steal a Hulk, and that's just making this gets you a link 4 and it's like all water materials. So that's pretty cool. They can come up for sure. Correlate Enemy and 1 Marbled Rock for the link 3s. This card is awesome. So huge, giving us just like an in-engine, super easy to access, by the way, in-engine way to access our traps. And by traps, I mean trap. Wave is the only good one. I pray that one day we'll get a MARINCESS trap card, another one that's kind of like Rage from Salamangreats, but for this deck, it's just any kind of removal. Just pop a card. As long as it's a quick effect, it can be an interruption. I don't care. This deck recycles so much. I don't care. Just the fact that it'd give us other variation and access to like removal way easier would be so huge for the deck. Because that is the one weakness I see for the deck that I run into, is this deck does not have removal. If you just make big sticky monsters, this deck does have problems clearing those up. So yeah, and then Marbled Rock, she comes up in the grind, just be able to add back a ton of stuff for sure. Link 4s, Aqua Argonaut, Bubble Reef, super standard. Bubble Reef is great if you don't have access to getting stuff equipped, then you don't have the spell and trap negate. You end on her, she's drawing a card every standby phase, absolutely insanely powerful. And then Argonaut, if she's equipped with a MARINCESS Link monster, she becomes a spell and trap negate. Very good. She can also bounce monsters, which is fine, but like you kind of have to go pretty far to get into her anyway. So, you know, her bounce effect is fine. It helps you clean up boards potentially, but that's mostly it. Both really strong. And then for the Exceeds, 1 Bahamut, 1 Toad to summon off the Bahamut, and 1 number 4 Stealth Kragan. This is super standard. Combos were usually most of your 2-card combos, if you're not getting interrupted, they go from just ending on like Aqua Argonaut with a wave in hand, so like essentially a monster negate and a spell and trap negate, to adding a Toad to that board. If you have one more level 4 extender, because then you just have another Omni negate on top of those 2, and then another add back off Toad. So it's another follow-up plus another negate. Absolutely insane. This is so good, by the way, because so many of the MARINCESS Link monsters take any generic water material. So the fact that you summon a Toad off Bahamut and then just use him as a Link body anyway is insane. And then I also have Kragan here. So Kragan's cool because, like, 1, he's technically a floodgate. So if you play against something like Salads, this card's technically keeping them off of Sunlight Wolf, which is really funny. But also, the deck lacks removal. So having just like a generic rank 4 where this deck can actually facilitate rank 4s pretty easily now, just to have monster removal, non-targeting, pop a monster every turn, is actually pretty good. So yeah. And also, like, you could side Gozen match. So when you see Gozen, like, it makes you want to make this guy because he'll just like literally win a duel. Him plus Gozen like will win like versus most meta decks unless they side back row hate, but like you wouldn't side back row hate versus this deck anyway because it doesn't, you don't really set cards like ever. It's like really dumb to side back row hate versus this deck. So yeah, really funny. But yeah, all in all, the deck is legitimately awesome. The way it does its plays is just so efficient. It's like a mid-range deck, but like you just you're not setting up 5 negates, you're setting up 2 to 3 negates, plus like 3+ follow-ups almost always. It's insane. I love the way it plays. It is definitely clean to like my play style for sure. Not too combo-y, but not too stunny, somewhere in the middle. Really cool. If you are curious about this deck, I highly recommend you check it out, especially if you want to be able to play competitively, because this deck is definitely there, where you should respect it if you are a competitive player for sure. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know your thoughts down below on the build. What other things would you consider for your list that you think I should consider for mine? And I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more deck profiles from me down the line. I got more water ones coming very soon. And I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.